I have a client back east. His brother runs a large general contracting company and has for a long time ranked his employees 1, 2, or 3. What I did find cool about this and unique was it was a ranking on how much supervision do they require.
Any sort of system to rate your employees and give them feedback isn't given enough inside of construction, in my opinion.
How much of my time do I have to spend supervising this guy or gal? If it's not much, that's good. If it's a lot, that's bad.
I think a system like this, where you do have clear feedback and a way for people to measure how their performance is great.
How do we recognize that? And then when we have that information, what do we do with it?
I think the real critical part of it is
expert advice, practical tips, real-life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cashflow Contractor.
All right, Martin, this is going to be one of the weirder episodes of CFC, short one, but we're going to just be workshopping an idea that came up. So I'll let you introduce the idea. Maybe we'll come out with a fun conclusion at the end. So
yeah,
go for it.
I have a client back east, and his brother runs a large general contracting company and has for a long time ranked his employees 1, 2, or 3. And the ranking is how much supervision do they require? A number 1 employee, very little. And I mean, just hyperbole, but basically you're building a house, he can go build a house.
Okay.
He might call in and ask something, but basically they're self-functioning.
Yeah, self-sufficient.
Pretty much 0. Yeah, self-sufficient. A 2 is what you might call a normal employee. They need instruction. We have to define these things, but maybe daily instruction. They need somebody to check their work. You need to keep up with them, but kind of a normal employee. And a number 3 is, what the way I described it was, you might as well not hire him because you're going to do it all yourself anyway. And I thought that was really good, to a way to rank people when you're trying to describe what makes good employees. If you can come up with the criteria on how much supervision they require and rank them that way, it's kind of a way to communicate among management, to yourself, and also to them. They need to know you're a number 1.
Yeah.
You're a number 2, and you're a number 3. And we don't tolerate 3s. 3s either go away or move up or move out, right?
Yeah.
So, and number 2s, you're always trying to improve them. So anyway, I just like the idea. It's kind of a model of clarity. And if everybody understands that one of the things I am ranked on is my ability to get things done without supervision.
Yeah, it's an interesting metric to track more than like output, which is what you would typically track in terms of like, did you get this done on time, on budget, whatever it is, but more so, and I'm sure you're still tracking that because you don't want to just not supervise somebody and then them not do anything either, right? But
well,
so
we do. I'm glad you said that. But we all have number 1s working with us. I mean, maybe not, but I've never not.
Yeah.
It's somebody that's totally on the team. They're thinking like I am. They're engaged. They're totally with it. And we have number 1s. You could turn it over to them while you moved away, might come back and make your intentions known. But other than that, you move off to a different location. So we have them.
Yeah.
But how do we recognize that? And then when we have that information, what do we do with it? And sorry, I interrupted you.
No. It's good. I think, obviously there's other things that you track, but how do you definitely have to communicate to them that that's what you're seeking. I want people that are self-starters, that can problem solve, that can handle all of the crises and challenges that come up on the job site, but are also going to make the right decisions, work well, get things done, all that kind of stuff. So then you have to have a process in for like, how often are you tracking this? Is it every single job where like, hey, your supervisor is ranking you on how you were supervisor?
Much supervision you took. Yeah.
Well, do you need a supervisor at that point is what I'm thinking. We don't hire supervisors at our company because everyone is self-sufficient.
Self-sufficient. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if that happens, that's a good deal.
Okay. So you have some sort of process. Maybe it's per job, per month, per quarter, something like that. You do have to have probably some sort of knowledge base, like of SOPs and where all questions can be answered in some respect.
Well,
Um,
even maybe a little before I'm taking a knowledge base is what happened that you're tracking.
well, so then
Right.
that's the other thing. You got to track what decisions did you make, and then a way of training and giving feedback on those decisions regularly.
Yeah. It's like having a culture statement. We've talked about that in
Yeah.
the past. We lay out a statement about our culture, integrity, right? But it takes some refinement, some bullet points beneath. What's that mean? That means I do
Yeah.
what I say I would do. I communicate promptly if I find out I can't do what I promised to do.
Yeah.
We need clarity on what constitutes a number one in terms of supervision. And those, I mean, they can be, they're always going to have an element of, I think, subjectivity because it's, I mean, literally you can count the questions they ask, but it'll be more of a subjective. But you have to define with clarity what they're being held accountable for.
Yeah.
And
I think I mean, it's going to be hard if you just start to implement this out of nowhere and you've got even just like 10 employees. Um, but it really starts with the hiring process. I'm thinking of how you implement. I mean, it's like your values. You've got to say, hey, this is what we value here. And then that's the kind of people that you go out there looking for. And honestly, I think there's a lot of people out there that don't want to be supervised.
I'm
Um,
literally running through my head while supervised or to be supervisors?
that don't want
Both.
that both, but that don't want, hey, like, I don't really want your supervision. I want
Oh,
to be trusted to do the job y- the right way.
and we're looking
And
for those guys and gals.
exactly.
But there
It,
are also a bunch of twos out there. They
mhm.
just want you to tell them what to do. They're not going to be hurt that they didn't advance to a one.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to do. I just want you to tell me what to do. Give me the stuff I need to do it, and I'll go do it.
Yeah. I guess the
So
only concern I would have at a certain level is, I guess that is your culture, but what does that look like in terms of too many cooks in the kitchen at a certain point? You'd have to, at a certain level, some people do need to be supervised, and maybe supervised isn't the right word, but at least led. Like,
everybody needs to be led. The number ones
yeah,
need to know what we're doing and
right.
what's the point and what's the strategy, the goal, and all that. It's do you need to be? I'm overstating a little bit. They don't need to be micromanaged. I don't
Yeah,
need to check. Here's the job, guys. Go plumb that house. We've done it before. Go plumb the
yep,
house. I don't want to hear about it. And I don't want to regret that I didn't go over there and check it out and approve it before they poured concrete on the pipes, right?
hmm,
Because I know you will have done that.
yeah.
That's if I had all chiefs that did that, I wouldn't need any. Well, we can't say that anymore, can we?
We can say Chiefs, it's all right.
Chiefs,
I
yeah.
think
Kansas
I think
City
it's
Chiefs.
a compliment.
There you go.
Um,
That's what I mean. Yeah.
yeah. So, I guess with this, the I think the real critical part of it is defining supervision. And you've already said that. We've got to define what a 1 and a 2 and a 3 is, but really let's define what, like, supervision means. Like, it's not micromanaging. Like, what is supervision to you?
Well, it's toward micromanaging. I mean, supervision is me checking out what you're doing, critiquing it, maybe telling you, giving instruction. That is supervision. Whether you're a one, two, or three depends on how much of that you require. And if it's just the minimal, hey, we're building a house and here's where it is. Here are the plans. Go get it. They've been supervised, but they didn't need very much.
Yeah.
But
I
if the
think
guy doesn't know how to hold a hammer,
yeah. I think kind of what I'm thinking of is like a 3 is you've got the supervisor on the job site, out, like, on the project, literally walking around, supervising, making sure that you're still doing your work and that we're on time and there's no issues and we're abiding by safety and everything's being done the way it needs to be done, and even directing a lot of it. Then like a 2, you've got the supervisor on site, but just in the truck, just, maybe pops out every once in a while, but is just in the truck. And then the 1 is the supervisor starts the day there and then leaves, maybe closes out the day there, or maybe doesn't. Um, that's kind of maybe what I'm thinking. What are your initial thoughts
No,
there?
we can, in general, sure.
Mhm.
That's right.
Okay.
Define it any way we want to. Uh,
Sure.
the next question is, of what use is it? I mean, we're kind of exploring that here right now. We
Yeah,
are
yeah,
not at all.
exactly.
And one of the things that I think matter about is useful is if employees are ones, twos, or threes, and they know it. Okay,
Yeah.
it is telling people what's important to us. Okay, the next thing is, uh, I can hear the pushback right now. You can't tell that guy he's a three. I go, well, you're right. I can't tell him because he doesn't work here anymore because I couldn't tell him anything. But the next thing is, what could you do to reward? And I mean, I just threw out something, but maybe you have a standard rate for a job. If a guy's number one in that job, he gets 1.1 times that or
Hmm.
1.05, whatever. If you're a two in that job, you get one, you get that pay. And if you're a three, you get 0.9, right?
Okay.
Until you get moved up. Now they have to understand clearly what moves them up. And that's always hard. It is subjective. But if we had a team of good project managers, let's say that the experience been around for years, they can sit down and tell you, here are the things I'm looking for in a guy I can count on, right?
Right.
And we start to codify that and say, you didn't meet these, you're still a one. Well,
You're still a 2.
a two. Yeah. I mean, you're at
Yeah.
1.0 on the pay scale.
Right.
You're a two. So anyway,
Okay. So
I
directly
just thought
tying
it
it to
was
the
interesting.
incentives
Yeah.
of
I mean,
the
try to
job.
find incentives and disincentives and mentor. Uh, anyway, what the reason we're talking about it was I thought that was really interesting. This guy's done
Yeah.
that for a long time. Everybody on his team knows what a one, two, and a three is. And
Right.
his brother was telling me that if he's getting a replacement person and they send over a three, they get him right back. Don't ever send a
Mhm.
three over here to me. Right.
No, that's a good call. My only concern with, listeners maybe trying to implement this is they maybe treat it how some treat delegation and getting frustrated with how it's going. There's a lot of support that this guy has in place. Like He's there's gotta be a training program, a solid onboarding program.
Yeah.
It's a part of the culture. There's a mentorship model in place to be able to get people's from 2 to 1s, and to elevate. There's probably some sort of incentive structure in place. It's not just show up one day and say, "All hands meeting, guys. From now on, we've got 1s, 2s, and 3s in terms of supervision,
Right.
and, hey, you 2 are gone." Um, there's definitely that program that needs to be in place and that culture that needs to be established to be able to really get that off the ground. But I think, most business owners are going to want those ones out there, but they don't have the culture and the processes in place to warrant having ones around.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I think that's the piece to think
I
about.
I just, if everybody in the company knows that your pay, your ranking, all depend on your ability to do things without being supervised or
Yeah.
micromanaged, I think you'll get more of that. And
Hmm.
so that's what's intriguing about it. Haven't thought out all the systems and processes, but I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah. No, really interesting. I think more things in the business need to be that simple. Um, a scale of 3 is wonderful. It's very objective. Like, essentially, I think of it as 2, you're meeting expectations, 3, you're not meeting expectations,
Yeah.
1, you're exceeding expectations.
Yeah.
And that's the most clear. Obviously, it's not the most detailed, but that's where you can have real conversations to get the detail. I think even just any sort of system to rank your employees and rate your employees and give them feedback isn't given enough. quarterly reviews, even annual reviews aren't done regularly enough inside of construction, in my opinion. So I think implementing a system like this where you do have clear feedback and a way for people to measure how their performance is great. So highly recommend
Now, I
implementing
also
anything like that.
I want big badges, 1, 2, or 3, and it
So
goes
to
right
like the
over your
scarlet
heart.
letter.
Yeah, just, I'm a 1, and if they rip it off, like
Yeah.
in the military walk of shame, rip off your number 1 and slap on a 2, and make you cut the buttons off your uniform.
So the only challenge, the one thing we didn't talk about with this, you're foreman and you move to project manager, you get promoted. Are you still a 1?
If you can work without supervision, maybe we can overthink if that's the criteria. If you're a foreman and you move to project manager, it's going to be presumed that you have the ability to do that. The fact that we don't want supervision doesn't mean you don't ask questions. It's just that you are not occupying the mind of your supervisor, wondering if you're getting your dang job done. Matter of fact, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
At least I got Bob and he's out working because all this other stuff is going to hell in a handbasket.
So it's less of a skill and it's more of a trait, essentially, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not, I mean, like it's really a value and a trait. It's something about a behavior and a mindset more than it is about like, how to do the job so well that you don't
Well,
need to be supervised.
you
I mean,
do
it's
need
kind of
that
both.
skills, but no, you have to have the mindset. There are a lot of people who can do jobs, and that's what they want to do. I want to go do my job. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to have to be nice to customers, whatever. I just want to do my job and go home. And that's okay. And that's
okay. That's good.
That's a 2, you need that. But the boss is looking for somebody that, man, if I had 4 like that, we could really rock the world.
Yeah.
4 leaders.
Well, I think it's an interesting thing. I think listeners might probably find value in that. And really, at the end of the day, my biggest thing is in order to have that quality of a person, have 1s on your team and to be able to have a program like that, be serious about your culture, provide real feedback to your employees, and have a culture of mentorship and development to get people to be those 1s. And it's at the end of the day, if you're not a 1, it's really hard that you're the owner, you don't need to be supervised. But if you're not doing what you're asking of people in terms of the culture and the mentorship and those kinds of things, it's going to be really hard to get other people to do it. So be the role model yourself. 1, get a culture statement in place with real values that you discuss frequently and that are brought up and celebrated and monitored, and then give feedback regularly and have some sort of development for your employees. Those are huge things that then allow you to do something like this, where it's like, hey, we're looking for 1s. And I'll also say, maybe supervision isn't the metric you're looking for. Find what that metric is and create another system around it of 1s, 2s, and 3s, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, just listening to you kind of close it out there. People can say, well, they're A players and B players and C players and all that stuff is all. What I did find cool about this and unique was it was a ranking on supervision.
Yeah, it's specific.
And I just had not heard that before. I think people would always say, oh yeah, my A players are self-starters and things like that. I just thought it was great that the guy goes, no, how much of my time do I have to spend supervising this guy or gal? If it's not much, that's good. If it's a lot, that's bad.
Yeah.
And that is that criteria.
Yeah. No, it's great. I love it. I think that's a great thing to live by and to run your company on. So yeah, thanks for sharing, Martin. Hopefully listeners, you guys found this episode valuable. If you have feedback for us on this idea, if you're implementing something similar to this, we'd love to hear from you, even have you on the show to share with our audience. But yeah, thanks for listening. Talk to you guys soon. See you,
Khalil.
Thanks for tuning in to the Cashflow Contractor. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Visit thecashflowcontractor.com. See you next episode.